Thank you, Deputy Speaker. We are also in support of the bill and the persuasion to force all of us as political parties in a democracy to report and put a proper record of our private funders. There are two important things here that must be immediately put in the fore. The first one has to do with the fact that in South Africa, majority of the time, to constitute a formidable political campaign takes a lot of money, which comes to close to saying there is a lot of commodification of the very processes of democratic elections, which are seen in developed countries. And as a result, the people with the most money happen to, in most of the cases, benefit because they can be able to push their favorite political parties. And this is important because in as much as money is important to constitute a political project, one's vote has to be informed not only by who puts money, but by the greater interests of the country. The second challenge is that smaller political parties, new entrants into the democratic space, are often marginalized by the fact of funding. If in an economy like South Africa, where majority of the money is with the white minority, it means that smaller political parties that often want to look out for the best interest of smaller rural communities on one hand, or black people in general, don't get majority of the funding from what are white businesses. So what does it mean? It means if those black people who are funding black political parties get punished by the ruling party, you're going to be reproducing the existing power dimensions in society. You're going to be reproducing existing political formations in society without a proper challenge. And so this is a thing that we all must be concerned of. So the bill is not necessarily going to disrupt these realities. We still need new mechanisms of disarticulating the right to vote, the elections and the entire democratic process from the weight and the power of the rich to not only buy political actors, but also to persuade legislative directions in most of the cases, like in the case of spectrum development or the allocation of spectrum. And so in as much as we welcome these developments, we'll be the first ones as the EFF to say who our private funders are. But you're still going to have a challenge even under those conditions. You're still going to have a challenge of the fact that people who actually fund small political parties get punished by the state. Now the final point is a recommendation. We want to tell business South Africa in general, perhaps it's time that you don't choose one horse in a political race. It's time that you fund in the interest of supporting a democracy. If you've got 100 rand to give to political parties, distribute it like the IEC does. Favor everyone in the political spectrum. Why? Because we see that people who put money, for an example, in the CR17 campaign, are the first ones to be considered when it comes to tenders and big state contracts. To end that, don't fund one person. Put your money in the democratic or in the democracy fund established by the IEC, which will then be distributed to all political parties. In that way, our democracy may function better without the power and the greed of the capitalists, who at the moment in society remain white and are just reproducing the status quo in as far as economic balance of forces are concerned. The EFF supports the bill. Thank you very much.